There, all clean. Not up to Mum's standards, of course, but it's clean. As much as I tried to focus on my thoughts into cleaning, the dark clouds didn't disperse one bit. No matter how much I dusted, scrubbed and polished, I still felt all sorts of messy on the inside. The store's clean, customers are happy. But the rain's still pouring down, huh? Yeah, my uncle. No matter. Say, the store's looking spick and span tonight, Twyla. Hila would be proud. No way. Whenever Mum cleaned, the store was immaculate. Perhaps. Your mother didn't have to worry about you tinning and enchanting though, that's for sure. How'd it all go today? I didn't say what immediately comes to mind. That Mum could have handled that more, and Mum was so much more than anyone else could see. Including her own brother. Maybe even including me? Surprisingly well. For how it all started. In the morning, some of our neighbors were... Oh yes, I bumped into the tracer of yours earlier and he told me about that. Yeah, I was really torn after that. They were ruthless.
Oh?
Talia's up to her old antics again, isn't she? I'll give that granny a talking to. No! I can handle it on my own. I have to. Besides, Lau and Jazz cheated me up a bit. I mean, I still felt sorta bad later on, but I'm sure it'll pass after some time.
Hey.
Lau, hey? Interesting kid, that one. He's got his own way about him, with words and otherwise. Huh? Earlier today, when we saw each other, he came and introduced himself politely, and apologized very sincerely about publicizing your conduit powers. Mentioned several times how it was incredibly naive of him to make such a mistake. Huh. Not often do you see a young man so willing to embrace his faults, even though I could hardly blame him for what had happened. Yeah, he's weird like that.
Oh?
Weird, huh? You know, I didn't notice it when I came in with Lewis, but he's not a bad-looking bloke, no? Oh, maybe. Depends who you ask, I guess. Quite the diplomatic answer, hey, Twyla? But I won't pry if you don't want me to. Tell me then, after your unfortunate run-in with the neighbors, how did it go with your customers today? Today's customers were interesting. I was a bit concerned at first though.
Oh?
Yeah? Yeah. Don't get me wrong, they were both great people and I loved getting to know them. But the thing is, they both came in already knowing the emotion they wanted to enchant their jewelry with. And they had already prepared their stories related to those emotions, and were quickly able to tell me about them. Well, at least Antonio did, but Odella had something ready too, right? Come to think of it, what was the story she was planning to tell me about at first? Sounds to me like news of the Twilight Jewelers enchanting services have spread then. Yeah, people seem to know what to expect already. It hasn't even been 2 weeks. La must have really put in a lot of work. And so that had you concerned, did it? A little bit, yeah. I was worried I would just be providing conduit services and nothing else. Right. She's a very people person. She wants to, you know, pry it out of them a little. Oh, Flosses, no offense, Uncle. No worries, Twyla. I'm all good. You missed my heart by a couple inches. With the stones. Glad to see more of my old uncle now that he's not busy feeling sorry for me. It's just, what I loved about the job was being able to connect with customers on a personal level. And having to really put myself in their shoes. And I felt like I was good at that. I mean, I don't want to... No, go ahead, Twyla. Toot your own horn. Alright. I felt like I was actually good at connecting with people. Like that, for once. Not just decent or a bit above average, but nothing to be proud of. Really, genuinely good. Even though Maribel came in on the first day and I struggled to comprehend half of what she was saying at first, in the end I felt like I understood her completely.
Hey.
So you're missing out on that, are you? Well, that's what I was worried about at first, but in fact, I think things have gotten even better now that people know what to expect, really. I can jump into getting to know the customer personally even quicker now. Right, less time spent on the simple stuff, huh? But you're not figuring out what enchantments they want. Then what are you figuring out? I'm not entirely sure, really. I think it's something I have to figure out for each customer, which sounds exciting. For Antonio, this professor that came in during the day, I was trying to figure out if his partner really needed the indignation he was so sure she needed. By the end, I understood why and how his lack of indignation was affecting their relationship and her life overall. I felt like I could pinpoint the exact energy I needed from Antonio for his partner. So in the end, I think my role as an enchantress is just changing slowly. Which is good. I can't imagine working one of those jobs where you have to do the same thing every day. Ouch. Sorry, I didn't mean it like that. I swear. I'm okay. Just scratched an artery. Nothing major. But even so, I feel confused. When I say it all out loud, things are sounding great. But I feel so strange. And the rain's still as heavy as ever. Yes, about that. I may know why. Huh? Really? Yes, Twilight. Your spirit. It's very busy. There's too much going on in there. So many small traces of chaos. It's not healthy. Are you tuning into my spirit? Yes, sorry, I hope you don't mind. Just knew something was wrong. No, that's okay. How and why? Just a second, Twilight. Please stay calm.
Oh?
I can feel so many small traces, but only make out a few of them. Let's concern ourselves with the first few then. They're not intense or deeply rooted. They must be recently developed or acquired given your powers. This feeling, a critical eye, disbelief, questioning. What is this I'm feeling, Twyla? Maribel's skepticism? Probably, yeah. Oh, that must be Maribel's skepticism. That must be it, yes. And this, it feels very much like the opposite. Faith and belief, looking at the future with positivity. Gives us hope. Yes, and now something similar, but a bit more prideful, ambitious and self-assuring. Oh, Odella's confidence. And this is, yes, the last one, though it's not as strong as the others. An anger of some kind. Isn't this indignation you mentioned earlier? Yes, it must be. So that means small traces of the emotions I enchant are staying with me. Phew, that was intense. No wonder the rain's continuing. What's going on, Uncle? Is there something wrong with me? Well, yes and no. It's not common for traces of chaos to remain with conduits. But then again, when you're focusing on receiving as much emotion as possible like you are, it makes sense. Yep, this has got to be what's causing the rain to continue at this stage. Even if your grief is the underlying cause of the outburst, having these fragments of chaos distracting your every thought can't be easy. Small moments from today and over the last week come to mind. Feeling torn between hope and skepticism of the future. Feeling confident of my abilities and angry at just how vivid those memories of my mum were. So this is why. I knew my spirit and mind weren't in the best condition, but something did feel strange about it all. Luckily, these emotions aren't too far from the surface of your spirit, so as long as we keep your spiritual health in tip-top condition, they'll pass in no time. and I believe that'll help you focus on processing your grief. And if we're lucky, we'll slowly see these rain clouds disperse. So, that means we need you to meditate regularly, which we've already had a head start on. You can thank your uncle for that. Thanks, uncle. More meditating, really? Regular reflective practices are also an absolute must. Writing meditations are good, or even just talking like we were just now. About your customers and your feelings you've enchanted and why. In fact, that must be why the thread of indignation was weaker than the others. It must have already passed a bit. Wait, you mean because we were talking about it just now, a trace of indignation started to pass, just like that? Yep. Oh, that's easy then.
Hey.
Alright. Don't get too ahead of yourself there, Twyla. Sounds like we're gonna have to do a little talking to Teddy. I'm not. I'm just, keeping up with myself. But uncle, how did you tune into my spirit like that so suddenly? And why? It wasn't all that sudden, really. I was trying to whilst we were talking. See, I was confused about the rain too, about why it hasn't lightened up in the slightest. And I noticed when we were talking that this would be a good opportunity since you were processing the emotion at the forefront of your spirit. I was? Yep. Just by saying what was on your mind, getting it off your chest helps to clear the chaos away a little. Luckily, it was enough for me to get a look at the inner workings of your spirit.
Hey.
Sorry if I shocked you there, Twyla. Didn't want to tell you at first in case you became self-aware and started closing off your spirit. People tend to do that on instinct, without any conscious effort. That's alright. And thanks, Uncle. I had no idea this kind of thing would be a problem. Oh, I guess all that time spent tuning into the spirits of materials and performing simple conduit services paid off. It's very difficult to be able to receive and read small traces of chaos like these without practice. Anyway, what else do we need you to do? Get enough rest for sure, and eat well and regularly. Now's not the time for a diet, you hear me? Sleeping, easy. Eating, easy. Being complacent, easy. Yeah, okay. Didn't hear you. Yes, sir! Alright, we should be good for now. Work at this every day and the result will come naturally. Don't you worry about that. I know. No result-oriented thinking. That young man's taught you well. For now, get some sleep. If things aren't busy tomorrow morning, I'll come by for another session of meditation practice. Woo!
Hey.
Twyla? Yes, sir! Over the next week, things started to mellow out. Finally. Customers came and went as usual, all looking for an enchantment to reach the spirit of someone close to them. And each one gave a chance to improve my skills. Slowly but surely, I began to understand my role in all of this better. But each customer also left behind a tiny trace of chaos in my spirit too. So of course I had to be more disciplined than ever. Uncle made sure of it. He pushed me to get into a healthy routine. It's funny, you wouldn't think it, but Uncle can have a commanding presence about him when he wants to. And I thought Mum was the strict one. Unable to neglect my health, I started to feel better than I had in a long time, almost despite myself. I started to enjoy my daily writing meditations. I kept a journal and spent hours making it look pretty. I wrote about how it felt like I was putting my old, depressed self behind. Of course, I still thought about Mum every day. Still felt the cut of disbelief, of despair, just like all the other days since she passed. Sometimes I felt invincible. Like the thought couldn't hurt me. I was at peace with it. And other times, if I lingered on it for too long, I'd find myself stuck in a stupor for a few moments and have to slowly shake out of it. So I suppose some things never change, but the rain and winds did. At long last, they died down a lot. I'll be the first to admit it, I felt too relieved on seeing the weather lighten up. I might have even let my discipline slide a little bit. But one morning, Lau wanted to have a talk before I opened shop and gave me the philosophical kick back into shape that I needed. His gaze a bit different this morning. It's not like last time. He's here with a plan in mind, taking action. Twyla? Lau? You're looking good today. Thanks. I try. He laughed softly. Lau laughed? You know what I mean. Whatever's happened over the last week has seemed to rejuvenate you. It's good to see you in high spirits. There's a slight, wistful, gentle tone in his voice. I'm not sure why, but concern twists in my spirit. Thanks, Lau. Really. I was thinking the other day about the state I was in before you came to the store. Despite it all, I've been very fortunate. You started such a perfect storm of events that somehow got me here. I was thinking more on the contrary, actually. Your spirits have risen considerably in my absence. I'm starting to think that my job here might just be over. No. It appears with some help moving forwards, and some space to breathe, you're capable of... Lau, what's your last name? Cheng. Why? Lau Cheng. What did you tell me about complacency? He laughs that same sad laugh once more. I see how I may have come across that way. Of course, you should still keep your guard up and be cognizant of your thoughts. It's just my involvement in your case may have exhausted its utility. Up until now, I had considered this a possibility. You can't just leave. You won't, will you? I still want you around. The words stumble out of mine. He looks at me blankly. I blush, feeling as sheepish as I sound. I think what you taught me last time helped. You know, my thoughts are a lot more controlled. I'm glad, Twy. That's good to hear. In that case, I'll be upfront. If you'd like to learn more about Stoicism, I can help. So, it's seriously not despicable? No. History has painted it in every hue but the truth. Not even a little bit? Is there anything about all that controversy that isn't misrepresentation? Perhaps, arguably, Stoicism is a very demanding philosophy, and as such it is easy to malign. But there is a good reason for that, and in fact it could be no other way. The Stoics confront the inevitable tragedies of life, where most would prefer simply to avoid thinking about them altogether. Living a happy, fulfilling, and virtuous life is no small feat. Stoic thought aspires towards the end, hence it is not an easy philosophy to follow. I see. Perhaps it seems oversimplified, but I can't put it any other way, Twy. Many of us prefer to live in delusion, convincing ourselves that what comes easiest is for the best. In short, the philosophy changes conventional notions of the good life like this. All the past controversies surrounding Stoicism is due to misunderstandings of why and how it challenges our thinking. I mean, just because something's comfortable doesn't mean it's what's best for us. So you're saying the state caused the GPD because they forced Sanoans to challenge their thinking in the wrong ways and for the wrong reasons? Yes, Twyla. And all of that wrong was a major departure from Stoicism. The philosophy is considerably flexible and inconcrete. Its foundations were established in antiquity and were not at all well documented at that. And its modern resurgence only occurred relatively recently. You've zoned out, haven't you? She looks like she's asleep. Too fast. Slow down. You're more like Antonio than I thought, you know? Sorry. can I ask you something? Sure. Don't you feel embarrassed, Lau? Like, even a little?
What?
What? You seem pretty reserved outside of your work, is what I mean. But you can speak so confidently as a tracer. Reserved, huh? If there was a time I was embarrassed or shy as a tracer, it must have been short-lived. You don't remember? No. Regardless, you have to put personal feelings aside in this line of work. Right. Of course. Of course. What was I thinking? I'll admit, I've become more personally invested in your case. I took it upon my own initiative. Any failure here is mine alone. And I'm glad I did before another tracer could arrive at your doorstep. Wouldn't trust one of those to help you through this. But overall, I feel confident because of my knowledge in the field. As do you when speaking to a customer, right, Twy? I suppose so. Yet there are still plenty of areas where I'm lacking, and therefore some victims I admit I cannot help as well. I know some tracers that'll speak nonsense with certainty. I don't know how they can live with themselves doing that. Sometimes I worry I'm doing exactly that when I talk to customers. I mean, they come to me with all sorts of issues. I don't know where to draw the line, you know? How much is my responsibility? How much is theirs alone? It's a tough situation, Twy. You're right, that there's no clear answer. That's okay though. Really, I should be glad that these are my problems I'm facing now. That I'm concerned with doing my best at a job I generally care for. That's very stoic of you, Twyla. I'm impressed. Wait, really? Yes. There's a technique called the Wand of Hermes. According to ancient myth, this wand could turn anything to gold. Oh. I'm thinking positively about a negative situation. That's what you mean? Exactly. Though the Stoics wouldn't think of your situation in itself as being good nor bad. Remember last week I talked to you about judgments? Well... He pauses in thought. Huh? First, so we're clear, do you want me to introduce Stoicism? You didn't give me a straight answer yet. I just realized.
Oh!
A laugh bubbles out of me. He's learning. I do. Teach me, Lau. Great. Back to judgments then. The idea is that there is no right or wrong in the external world. The external world meaning all worldly things beyond our characters. What is within our minds and spirits. Maintaining a virtuous character is good. The opposite is bad. All other external things, money, career success, fame, reputation, food, and so on, these are neither good nor bad. They're indifference. But you need food to survive, and have some money. Sure. Zeno called those kinds of things the preferred indifference. Everything else in your life being equal. You would be better off having money than not. Are you taking notes? Yeah. How else am I going to remember all of this? He smiles at me, and I prod him with questions. What did you mean earlier by virtuous character? Virtue, yes. Fundamentally, the 4 Stoic cardinal virtues are temperance, courage, wisdom, and justice. Good judgments are in line with these virtues. Bad judgments are not. That is the core idea behind all Stoic thought, really. Nothing in the external world has any moral value. Only our judgments of them are considered good or bad. Though that's somewhat of an oversimplification, as Stoic virtue also involves living in harmony with the stars and the forces. I miss learning more than I thought. La goes on about humans being social animals, and the order of society matching the natural order of the forces, and I take notes eagerly. What if I don't believe in this natural order business? It seems... antiquated? Yes, I wouldn't blame you. However, whether we take on a scientific view of the universe or the traditional Stoic view, it's still prudent, to embrace our fate without anger. See, if things occur according to some divine order, then we are wrong to become frustrated. Everything is playing out as it must be towards some greater purpose. And if things occur according to the chaotic interactions between countless atoms, we are still wrong to be frustrated. After all, what good is there in becoming angered by events that occur by chance and are completely out of our control? Not wrong. True, I guess. The minutes pass by quickly as I start to understand the philosophy more, though it's not easy, of course. So many questions still linger. So this wand of Hermes idea, thinking positively of external events conventionally thought of as bad. Yeah. So is this something the pre-GPD state failed to enforce effectively? In fact, yes it is. It's one thing to encourage this kind of realistic optimism, to acknowledge that life is difficult, but ultimately one has the power to see things differently and become emboldened by new perspectives. That conception of the wand of Hermes is positive. I'm sure you can see how people may willingly embrace such thinking. But once you start diminishing people's woes, undermining their struggles and sicknesses, you've lost the purpose of the exercise entirely. And that's what the state did? Exactly. Much of Stoicism balances on a fine line, like this. And when the state implemented it into schooling, therapy, and chaos response, they deliberately blurred the lines, morphing the ancient philosophy into a monster of their own creation. Yeah, being told that the way that you feel is stupid. Not a great way to calm down emotions. Not great. Not great. The rest I'm sure you know. The unreasonable level of enforced regulation. Yeah, the chaos police, no? Yes, for one. Having a secret force scattered throughout the city, ensuring no one feels out of line. It was a terrible form of oppression, plainly unconstitutional. But then again, somehow no one could prove they weren't just ordinary individuals, acting of their own volition. So even the chaos training they forced on children, you know, the one where you would take toddlers away from their parents, that was under the guise of Stoicism then? Yes, in fact, a big part of becoming a better Stoic is the training of judgments. It's not easy to consistently make virtuous judgments. It's easy to think irrationally and become emotional. And young children are, of course, highly impressionable. So the state argued the training was necessary. But they were trying to brainwash them into model citizens, no? And people pleasers. Unfortunately, yes, virtue was disregarded entirely. The state aimed instead to mold these children into the perfect subjects. They wanted a new generation of children that would work away, contributing to the economy tirelessly, without a word of complaint. I mean, again, people pleasers. They might not say anything, but that doesn't mean they're not feeling it or thinking it inside. You can't really train that out of people. Thankfully. In attempts to rid them of the emotional response that would ordinarily keep them from overworking themselves, reassessing one's priorities and moving towards a balanced, healthy lifestyle, it all starts with that emotional response. The mental exhaustion, the deep dissatisfaction with what one's life has become. It's all too natural when one toils away endlessly at their work, and the state wanted to rid people of this very feeling. Is this what Antonio meant by the invulnerable state? Exactly right, Twy. Such a careless destruction of people's humanity could only ever be in pursuit of wealth and power. Ugh, I hate people, Lau. People are so flare and stupid. No wonder Lau carries so much pain with him. He must feel like a madman, yelling at the sky in vain. Sometimes I find myself feeling the same way. Even so, the ancient Stoics advocated to exercise patience when dealing with others. Act with the belief that everyone aspires towards good, though their judgments about what that entails may be weak. Therefore, we should aim to be forgiving, gently guide people towards virtue. But as we've seen, the old state saw excuse of a guiding philosophy had all the gentleness of an iron fist. Oh, sis, this is also so much to think about, but I believe you now, Lau. Yeah, they didn't guide, they forced. They controlled. It's hard to think that they've kept this hidden from the rest of Zenoa somehow. I just don't understand. Why do this? I don't know, but one way or another, this refusal to adopt a guiding philosophy needs to end. Anyhow, I should leave things here. I don't want to overload your mind before a full day of enchanting. Too late, Lau. All I can think of is judgments, indifference, wand of Hermes, stoic virtue. Maybe go write in that journal of yours then. How do you know about that? You didn't look, right? Was I not supposed to? I just thought, as your tracer. Lau, are you serious? Nope. He chuckles. It was a joke, Twy. I swear to the spirits. You won't have a spirit when I'm done with you. After a little more bickering, I won, of course. Lau had to leave for a different case.